Hi there, guys. Welcome back to the most recent episode of the Hull and Back podcast. I'm joined by all of us today. We've got a full podcast. I've got Nathaniel, Will and Joel. How are we all doing?
Very, very good mood for the most part.
Good.
Yeah, mixed.
Bit of slow news week.
Yeah, I mean, has the takeover happened yet? I don't know. No. I didn't hear about it this week.
It was the last episode as an Allam Era. We got it right in the end, eventually.
Yes.
So obviously we've got quite a jam-packed episode to give you today. Well, tomorrow, whenever this is released. Obviously we beat Blackburn. We beat Bournemouth. The takeover went through finally. And then we've got some news break tonight that could potentially be true, not. We're waiting for official confirmation from some sources, so we'll talk about that towards the end as well. Obviously, so we'll start then. We'll have it as a good episode. So obviously, we'll begin with the takeover. You know, it's the thing we've been waiting for years. The relationship between the fans and the Allams was at a point where selling it was needed for both. Yeah, it was definitely untenable.
Fuck off.
Exactly.
A lot of bridges. They've done a lot of things wrong. You know, we could sit here all night and list the stuff that they did wrong. Yes, obviously their tenure started very well, and we did some good stuff at the beginning, and then it all went wrong and sour from that point. But it was definitely the right choice to sell up and let them go because you know we've got optimism. It's strangely optimistic. Like that was the thing from Twitter the last week or so. Is used to going on the HCFC hashtag, and it's quite a it can be quite a depressing read. It can be.
Oh yeah, it's rubbish. Yeah, I mean all football hashtags like that, really.
Yeah, true. But this week, even like since the takeover, people weren't really that bothered about the next two results because the ultimate aim was to get the Allams out and this guy in. That obviously happened, but with the bonus, we went on and beat both these teams that we were dreading.
Well, I mean, I said the only result we needed was the takeover, and didn't care about the games. So I'm glad we got both.
Yeah, so we got both in the end. Obviously, he was announced just before the Blackburn game. He came out, presented himself to the crowd before the game and everything. So obviously the whole stadium had a bit of a lift. The players seemed to definitely get a lift from it. The atmosphere sounded a lot better. You were there, Joel. Was you there as well? Will, you was, weren't you? But I think you were drunk, so I'm not going to ask you any questions. You won't remember. The atmosphere needed that. The stadium needed that. Hopefully, we start seeing some more fans come back to the stadium. We start seeing the MKM stadium a bit more packed now because, given recent performances, they definitely deserve that support. These lads. But so we start off firstly. So obviously now since Action's come in, is it strange then to think that? We know that the Allam's tenure was more of a weight on the shoulders of everybody at the club, fans, players, manager, etc. But did you honestly think that the club would get a lift that quick? And I'll just open this to any of you, whoever wants to answer that. Do we expect maybe a couple of weeks for things to really pick up, or was that expected?
Well, no, because the Allams are toxic as fuck.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't like going to be an easy fix because it's not like it was just bad and it will suddenly be good. Like attendances, it will take a while for people to come back.
Definitely.
And yeah, I think a lot of people might not come back because they've found other things to do, But yeah, that'll be a slow thing.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously, we'll get straight onto the Blackburn game because, like we were saying, it was announced on the same day we played Blackburn, and they were the most informed team in the league. I don't think they lost since before Bonfire Night. Given the recent performances against Blackpool and Stoke, we even said ourselves on the last episode that we weren't too confident heading into these two games. Blackburn definitely had the ability to hammer us if they really wanted to, and we played similar to how we did to Stoke, but that wasn't the way it went, obviously. I thought we more than matched them for quite a significant part of that game. We didn't seem really under the cosh for the most part. I mean, the players seemed, obviously we started like an house on fire, and Honeyman got that early goal, which I think probably helped a lot because of the lift with the new takeover and the atmosphere. That early goal was perfect addition to it and helps us kick on from there. But can you single out then I'll come to you first, Will. Was there any players that you seem to think wow, like he stood out, or was it just a team performance?
Oh, I wonder who it could possibly be if you're watching the video version of this. It's obviously Sir Thomas of Eves, MBE, OBE. Man's a fucking god.
Quite so. Yeah.
So what is it? What has he changed about his game then that's made him sort of pick up his performances lately? What has he done different?
He just seems to... I don't even know if he actually has changed that much about his game, to be honest. I just think he just seems... Everything's just going right for him. Because he's still playing very similar to how he was playing before, but he's getting a bit more of an opportunity.
Confidence,
And I think when he had that performance against against Everton, it showed that he could do something. And obviously Stoke... I think it's been with KLP up front. And I think maybe what it is. Because with Tyler Smith, we all wanted KLP. We all wanted Tyler Smith and Eves as the top two. But against Stoke, it didn't look great. And it wasn't... But when he's playing with KLP, he just seemed like a better fit with one another.
I think it's... For me, I mean, our biggest criticism of Eves is that he hasn't... I mean, I honestly think he's changed his game a bit. I don't know if you guys will agree with me after I explain. To me, what he used to do when we played is he would always be trying to run in behind. He was almost trying to be off the shoulder, even though he's obviously not a player. He was always running into the channels and he was always coming deep for the ball. And you wanted him to be in the box. He's a big target man. We needed him to do what similar things Josh McGuinness did, and obviously hold the ball up, bring other players into the game. And I think in the Everton game he did it brilliantly. I think I think that probably proved to him that he can do it, and maybe got McCann to encourage him to do it more and said, what you did out there was fantastic and I want you to carry that on into the league games. Because obviously the Stoke game was an anomaly in the sense of the last 4 games that we played. But his ability to start being a nuisance to the centre halves of the other teams, they're purposely doubling up on him now because he wins headers. He's good at taking the ball down. He's strong. He holds the ball up and he allows the likes of Longman, KLP, Randall Williams to go in behind. And then, we start asking questions and start probing the defence. And that, to me, I think is why we're seeing a better version of Eves, because he's starting to do what we actually wanted him to do in the long term. But he probably didn't have a chance to do so. Like you say, with the likes of KLP, I think it's that infectious enthusiasm that KLP has, where he's constantly running and pressing and wanting to win the ball back, kind of thing. That Eves thinks, bloody hell, yeah, I need to do that too. And then we have we have Honeyman, Doherty, both the wing backs, both the strikers, sort of pressing, and it helps us look like we're sort of putting our lives on the line a bit more than what we were used to, instead of being a bit lightweight in the middle like we were against Blackpool. Starting to see players play to the strengths, which is what we've been waiting for a long time. So I'm going to come to you, Joel. Obviously, we've spoke about adding Randall Williams into the squad. I think he's going to be a bit of an unsung hero in the last few games. I know I've seen him get a couple of praise tweets from people, but maybe not as much as he should do. Personally, do you think about him since he's come into the side? Is he been a worthy addition? I know obviously he's just been injured, but in the last few games, do you think he's done well to when he's been in the side?
Yeah, he's been that bundle of energy down the wing really that we've needed for a long time. So it's just something that it's a different approach we've taken, and it's helped us out massively in terms of our attacking play, and he's pretty decent at defending as well.
I think the thing is with Randall Williams is it gives us a different option, because when we play KLP, obviously more offensive. I think Randall Williams is a lot faster, prone to crossing the ball, which obviously then gets the better start of Eves, because there's no point in having a big player like Eves in the box if you're not going to cross it. And KLP and Longman tend to do them near post sort of drilled crosses. We don't float a ball in, but Randall Williams is very likely to just stick one in when he can, which I think it gives us another variation in our play, which is good, and obviously he tracks back well. So in terms of playing that wing back role, which we maybe had some question marks over whether or not he could step in and do that, he definitely has for me, and I think he's been one of the best additions. I'm going to come to you then, Nathaniel, for this one, because I think you're the perfect guy to come to for this one. So obviously Ryan Longman did not score against Blackburn, but how instrumental has he been since we switched to this system? And is he one of these players that we definitely need to sign permanently? Is he crucial to the way we play at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously so good that we couldn't afford him if we tried. But he kind of won us the game. Well, both games really, with the goal and the 2 assists. For the first goal against Blackburn and the one against Bournemouth. Eves, as you were saying, has kind of changed his game, and he is being a target man. And both of those goals, he gets the ball, holds it up, and gives it to one of the quality players to go do something special, which is what Longman did. He's been really important. And a lot of people have criticised Elder, and then of course Emmanuel and Coyle are both out, and Williams has only just come into the squad. So we wouldn't really be able to play the system we do if Longman hadn't stepped up to the plate. So we probably would have been stuck 4-3-3 maybe. So he's really needed to, fill that gap in the team because of the injuries. We're fortunate that, going forward, especially with is it 8 goal involvements in 11? He's in great form.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I like about Longman, and it's a similar thing to what I like about Longman, and it's similar to like the pros to KLP and Randall Williams, etc., is that their versatility. If you're going to play a system like this, you need players that can adapt and play in different roles if they need to be. And Longman obviously can play either side and up front. KLP can play either side and up front. Randall Williams is quite capable of playing both sides, and it gives us sort of that ability to change mid-game that maybe was the biggest criticism of McCann in the past, that, we were playing one certain way and didn't change it, whereas the current system allows us to, if not change the formation per se, but we can change the way that we're attacking mid-game by like swapping wings and sort of crossing more instead of cutting inside and asking different questions kind of thing, or hitting it long, keeping it short. We've got that variation, which is the thing that we wanted most. And players like Longman, KLP, they're absolutely crucial to that. Also, the likes of, I'm going to wax lyrical about Sean McLaughlin in a minute, because I just think every time I watch him, you wonder how the hell he hasn't been in the squad.
Rolls Royce.
He's just, I think personally, since coming into the side, he's been our most consistent performer. I think obviously because Honeyman's been absolutely brilliant, but you take the Stoke game out of the equation, you're quite poor against that. But McLaughlin every game, I just think has been. He looks like he's willing to put his body on the line for absolutely everything. He throws himself down for blocks. He makes so many blocks per game, clearances. He's composed with the ball at his feet. And I think it brings then the best out of Greaves and Bernard. I think he's very, very, very important to the current system that we're playing. And I would argue that he'll probably be better in that role than maybe an Alfie Jones would be when he comes back, because we keep forgetting about Alfie Jones because he's been out for so long. We've got a lot obviously to praise about, and we did it very well against Blackburn. So we'll come on to the actual game itself. So obviously the first goal was very good work from Eves to keep it in play, to find Longman, who then found Honeyman. Good bit of footwork, eventually crossed the line, just perfect start to the new era, obviously very good. Second goal. Now this is the interesting one. So the second goal, obviously, long ball played over the top. I think it was Longman, wasn't it? Crossed it far post. And
lovely cross.
There was a potential foul on the goalkeeper, did we say? For Eves to mod at the far post. I mean, obviously, we're very happy for Eves to get his goal, because I think it'll only obviously benefit him confidence-wise in the next few games and keep him at a level, I think. But should that goal have stood, honestly, I'll come to you, Joel. I don't know if Joel's there.
Joel?
Joel?
No.
It's
a simple answer. It shouldn't have stood. The keeper was taken out.
There's a bit of a lag going on here.
Won that header anyway.
Joel, can you hear us?
It was clear foul, wasn't it?
I think he's about 10
Can you hear me?
behind the screen.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, I thought it might have been a penalty on Brereton Diaz earlier in the game, that when Bernard got it across him. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I was going to come back to that one, because I think do you know what I first thought of when I saw that challenge? Is it Bernard's done quite a few of them this season, and he seems to get away with it. I remember him doing something similar against Reading. He seems very clumsy when he's doing like a last-ditch tackle. I don't know if it's, but he makes it seem aware that it's a shoulder to shoulder. So like, the ref can sort of be on a 50-50 decision, and they tend to not give it in that sense. And I think we've been quite lucky a couple of times, because I think both of the times I'm thinking of with Dishon and last-ditch tackle, I think they were both penalties against Reading and Blackburn. I mean, it's one of them. I mean, so if say that was our player and that was a Blackburn defender that's just gone into the side of KLP, are we claiming that as a pen?
You're saying it's one of them. Modern football always gives them as penalties, to be honest.
Yeah, well, he doesn't get the ball. I don't think it's shoulder to shoulder because he's fouled him.
Yeah, he has fouled him.
No?
I mean,
he's sort of relying on
would it have stood if VAR was in the Championship?
It wouldn't have changed it.
It would have been overturned. I mean, if you can get a penalty for what Liverpool got, at least a fucking day, it would have been overturned.
And the Harry Kane foul earlier as well. I think referees are just terrible, so you know you get the rub of the green sometimes.
Refs, I think there are a lot of it.
Well, VAR is refs, isn't it? Because they use it.
Yeah, but I mean, so technology is not the issue; it's the people implementing it.
Well, we're talking about VAR.
Human error is
VAR in the Championship.
But isn't human error that adds to the enjoyment of football? To me personally, I mean, obviously decisions can go against you in that sense, but you don't want to be waiting 5-10 minutes for a perfect decision, do you? Really, you want decisions there and then. For me, I wouldn't want VAR. I kind of agree with I think what Shearer said, where if you're not using VAR in every game, you shouldn't be using it at all. I know he meant in terms of the cup, but in the grand scheme of things, you shouldn't really have it in just one league, should you? Because it makes you dread wanting to go up, kind of thing. Because I don't think I'd want to be at the ground and see a VAR decision get put into play. So since we lost Joel connection wise, I'll come to you, Nathaniel. Our second goal then, should it have stood?
Yeah, I don't think so. I've seen fouls for less. McLaughlin's not looking at the ball. He's clearly barged into the keeper. It doesn't matter whether the goalkeeper would have got there or not. But yeah, it's a foul. It's an obvious one, I think. But of course, I'm glad it was given. Yeah. Another Longman assist.
There anyway, he was smashing that in regardless.
Yeah, but it's still a foul.
Nah, it don't matter.
It just seemed like everything went our way, didn't it? I mean, because obviously it was the day the takeover went through, sort of like, you know, the refs' decisions went our way. It was just one of them where look at
football stories, isn't it?
Yeah, it was written in the stars.
Exactly.
From what I remember of it, through my inebriation, I thought 2-0 flat Blackburn. I don't know if
I was going to come to that. See, obviously, I think one of the best parts of it was we were all waiting to listen to Tony. Well, I was listening to Tony Mowbray's post-match interview to see how mad he got about them couple of decisions. Obviously, could have turned the game. And he was actually very, very honest. And like he said, you know, there was a couple of poor decisions that probably went against us that shouldn't have done. But on the grand scheme of the game, they didn't deserve anything from the match. I can't honestly remember them having too many chances that, you know, you should have thought, no, they should have buried that kind of thing. I thought we more than matched them for 90 minutes. I thought the energy, I mean, it was total opposite to the Stoke game, where we commented about how lethargic we were, unorganised, the structure was wrong, you know, the defence was too easily cut open. Polar opposite against Blackburn, very organised, energy, enthusiasm, endeavour, whatever descriptive words you want to use. It was just there. We were just, I think we were brilliant. Like when we went 1-0 up, I genuinely thought that was it. We were going to win this game. Obviously, we're probably piggybacking on the momentum of Takeover and everything.
Oh yeah,
it was a very good performance. Who would have been then your man of the match? I mean, I can't remember who won it. Was it Eves?
I don't know who won it on Sky, but in the ground, Honeyman won it.
Honeyman. Yeah, it was good to see Honeyman back to his usual self, because he is, like, as we mentioned in the Stoke game, if he has an off game, then the team has an off game. He is absolutely crucial to the way we play at the minute, and future captain, I think, if he stays.
I would personally, for my man of the match, I would go with what Baz Cooper did and just give everyone 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
why not?
I think I think Baxter had a couple of wobbly moments, but obviously kept a clean sheet, so can't complain too much. But then Baxter, moving on to the Bournemouth game, was absolutely phenomenal. So, you can forgive him for having off games. Now that we've got Joel back then, I assume you can hear us now. Yeah, we're all good.
I could hear you anyway.
Joel made the long trip down to Bournemouth, which I don't envy at all. I think it was like 10 hours round trip, but definitely worth it in the end. I think it was a different kind of win to Blackburn, I felt, because I thought obviously the first half Bournemouth kind of really put us backs to the wall kind of job and could have been about 3 or 4 up at half time, but we somehow held on, and then second half vastly improved. What do you think we switched up in? What do you think Grant McCann said at half time to change us to sort of kick them into gear? Because we were really under the cosh, weren't we, at half time? I think a few of us couldn't believe we were in 0-0.
Well, one of the things I did say to a couple of people on the coach room was that there's a possibility McCann must have said to the team, "This is my last game. I'm not going out with a performance like that."
Possibly.
That's maybe what he said in the halftime team talk, because when they came out, they had more energy. They were fighting for more balls. So I think that's what changed the game. We did change the system as well. Kept the same formation, but we attacked in a different way.
I think we seemed to, in the first half, I think we kind of looked a bit hesitant to do like what we did so well against Blackburn. Was we sort of doubled up with the likes of Honeyman and the wing backs and exploited Eve's target man ability and allowed us to sort of pin up in their half. I don't think we did that too much against Bournemouth. Do you think then I think did Tom Eves have a similar influence in this game to what he did in the Blackburn, in your opinion, Will? Was that another target man masterclass?
Yes. The second half, really. I mean, the first half, we didn't really have much up front at all, to be honest. It was all Bournemouth. But in that second half, I thought he held the play superbly, did everything he was required to do. I want to say man of the match for me, personally, of that game, honestly. I know that's weird because other players like Longman scored and all that, but Eves I don't think he did anything wrong at all, really.
Well, we got the assist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just helped me favour and put him above your mate Longman.
Well, Longman scored a worldie, so, I'd go Longman man of the match both games, of course.
Right then, so obviously the first half we know was not very poor. It was very poor, sorry. But Nathan Baxter, I think probably on the terms of the first half alone was fantastic. Do you think possible man of the match contender then, Nathaniel? Do you think he really put a foot wrong that game?
Yeah, I mean, if Longman was man of the match, but Baxter was great. The amount of times on commentary, it was like, you can just tell when there's a big chance, and Fletcher on the commentary is like, "Ooh, it might go in," and Baxter was there to save it. It was great. It's amazing that we didn't concede in that game, but yes, and then second half we just seemed to remember that it's there's two teams on the pitch, and it wasn't just waiting for Bournemouth to score, because they'd only won 2 games in 9 or now 10, so it's not like they're like Blackburn that we should have been maybe more fearful of them. Clearly something isn't quite going right at Bournemouth, so there was a chance there late on. If it was get the crowd on Bournemouth's backs, they could go and win it, and they did.
I mean, I'm glad you got to listen to Fletcher's commentary, because I imagine we've had to listen to the fuckwits on BBC Radio Solent on the Bournemouth commentary.
I heard they were bad. I heard their after-match kind of stuff, and they were very, very bitter.
Whenever we were doing our shithousing, our game management, as they like to call it, in other words, time wasting, it was despicable and horrendous. But when Gary Cahill did it in the first half, it was a wise old head.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because it's very. I think they seem to forget, the context of that game. Where down in potentially a relegation fight before that game, with a squad that's probably worth or been assembled that's cost less than £5 million altogether. Whereas Bournemouth is, littered with Premier League talent, and it's their ground, and they're chasing automatic promotion. So,
how much did the Solanke for?
It was a stupid amount of money.
$6 billion.
The amount of Premier League goals he scored, which isn't very many.
Isn't it? 3.
Yeah, astronomical fees, but
yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, the context of both our squads and aims of the season is different. So if we're going to go there, back to the wall job in the first half, proper smash and grab, end up a goal in front, there's only one way that game's going to end, and that's with us seeing the game out. We're not going to carry on trying to go toe to toe with a team that's,
I don't know. When it's in 9 minutes, I was a bit fucking scared.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, 9 minutes of added time's a bit, a bit faggy time, innit? It was quite worrying when I saw that number come up. But I think so. The contribution, obviously, to that injury time, we lost Randell Williams. Is that going to be a problem in the future? Obviously, Swansea, big game coming up next. Probably means that we'd have to start maybe Tyler Smith up top, depending on current circumstances before we sign players. Maybe. I
think it's a simple solution. You play the person who came on, Brandon Fleming.
Agreed.
I thought in his brief cameo, it looked all right. It was nice to see him back.
I don't know if this is premature on this episode, or we could play one of maybe 2 new strikers we're going to buy. That might happen before Saturday. Syed Manish.
Syed Manish, yeah.
I'll just go with Pesic, not say the other one's name.
The other one's a young gem, though, anyway.
Apparently, you call him by his first name, Alahya.
Oh, that makes it a lot easier, then.
Yeah.
But going off current players, so we're saying maybe give Brandon Fleming a go. Obviously, not being involved for quite a while. So
I'd play Smith, maybe.
How did you find him? What was good about Brandon Fleming's performance then, Joel? Give me a glowing reference. Why should he start against Swansea?
He didn't put a foot wrong when he came on. Granted, it was a small cameo, but he just every time the ball came near him, he was tackling fine. And there was one ball that he played right across the pitch towards Tyler Smith, which was pitch perfect. So it's just he's not lost a step by the looks of it. So it's worth giving him a chance.
Does he have the fitness to see a game out, or is that just an irrelevant
circumstance? Really, at this point,
that's what subs are for.
Yeah, true. Because obviously, so given Tyler Smith, then obviously for a long time, a lot of fans, us included, wanted him to start. Have we seen enough from Tyler Smith to justify him starting next game? Is it, or if not, what is it that he has to work on? Nathaniel looks like he's got an answer.
We were so terrible against Stoke. It wasn't his fault he couldn't get into the game because we didn't, do anything for him. And later on, with Smallwood coming on and we were better, I think Tyler Smith was already off the pitch by then. So I bring him in, especially at home. You want, attacking players. But I don't think it was his fault. He was bad against Stoke because he just didn't have anything to do. But maybe if we're in better form, he might have a better chance against Swansea.
Because Tyler Smith, for me, is one of them players that when he gets the chance, he looks like he does all the right things. And then when it gets to the end where he needs to score the goal, it tends to go wrong for him. But I would argue that for strikers to get that sharpness, they need to be playing. Like, they're not going to... Strikers come off confidence, they come off momentum. If he's not playing, he's not going to get that confidence and that momentum. I know, obviously, he scored against Everton and then he started against Stoke and the whole team was poor. Like we say, we can't just single him out as being a reason why we were really bad. But for me, if we're going to see the best out of a player like Tyler Smith, he needs to be in there and gaining that sharpness and that understanding with the players around him, because we seem to forget he's still not actually played that often for us since signing. Like, he had a little run when he first signed, then he sort of disappeared for a while. And then he sort of re-emerged again. But it's one of them, innit? But can we afford to not play? Can we afford to play him and sort of have a passenger for a few games? It's tough, innit? And obviously why managers...
I think we just look so much better with that 3-4-2-1 with Eves as the main man and KLP and Honeyman essentially just behind him.
Yeah, it
like
does
a
help
diamond.
because it helps us sort of put numbers in the middle as well, doesn't it? Because like we were saying, this system brings out the best, I think, personally. If you look back at the 4-3-3 that we used to play and then the current system we're using, the way that we sort of unleash Honeyman is basically he's got a free roam. I think McCann just says to him, right, you go out there, you're going to play in the middle, but buzz about, do what you do. Because he goes to the left, he goes to the right, he goes down the wing, he ends up in the box, he ends up defending. He's literally just everywhere. He's the every bit guy. And Smallwood also benefits from the system because the wing backs allow us to sort of have a little bit more freedom in attack. But the three defenders allow him to sort of drop back and make a back four. So we're never sort of counted against that often because Smallwood's sort of the disciplined one in the middle that stays there and does all the gritty work. So them two complement each other. And then you've got Doherty in the middle. And then, like you say, that when we have the ball, we sort of switch it to a 3-4-2-1. And it helps us pack the midfield out and double up on players and get the ball into the box, which is probably why we're now seeing more goals and more chances being made than we used to. But that's my opinion anyway. So I'll come to since then Joel missed a little bit of the episode, we'll come back to you. For you, say we sign a defender. Any of them back three, can any of them be justified to be dropped at the minute?
It depends who we sign. If it's a top quality centre half that can slot into a team easily, then Deschamps Bernard comes out the back three. In my opinion, he's had a couple of shaky moments recently. So if it was any of them three at all, it would be Bernard.
But is that not just because obviously the Championship's a new level? I know it's a new level for most of our players, but Bernard obviously was at loan at Salford in League Two, was it last season? So it's a bit of a step up. I know obviously he could have conceded a penalty against Blackburn, but he also did that very important block when Baxter sort of, I don't know, lost his mind for about 3 seconds and ran out of his box and got dinked. But obviously he kept the score at 0-0 then, and obviously he's been from the beginning of the season one of the most consistent players. He's had a couple of off patches, but you're going to get that with youngsters, aren't you? But that's the reason I asked, because every now and again either Greaves or Bernard maybe has an off game, and the only one that seems to sort of stay at a consistent level is McLaughlin in the middle, who seems to be like he's been playing 10 years to me. Obviously there's no reason personally for any of them to be dropped, but I think that three at the back system sometimes your defensive capabilities in terms of your one-on-one tackling or your ability to read the game is so important, because if we do commit quite a few forward and you end up in a one-on-one, like against Blackpool that we saw, Jacob Greaves was absolutely hammered by Josh Bowler that game, like as an example. It can be tough in that sense, and maybe an experienced head every now and again, but it's one of them, innit? Like you can't, especially in the last two games, we can't really justify changing anything. Right, so is there 3 points against Bournemouth then, or was we lucky? What we're saying?
Well, it's a bit of both. You could argue we deserved it because, they had lots of chances, didn't take them, but we took ours. But then, on a competent day for Bournemouth, they'll stick one or two of those many chances away. So we just got a bit of luck, but, you make your own luck, really.
Yeah. I think, obviously, on the episode prior to these two games, I think none of us gave a prediction of more than 2 points to be accrued from both of them, which was wishful thinking. We've obviously come away with 6, and this takes us 10 points clear of the bottom 3 now, and sort of has essentially won Fulham the league. Yeah, I think it's we've done Fulham a favour, so hopefully they can do us one when we play each other soon.
15th in the playoffs now as well.
Well, let's not.
Looking up.
Yeah, we could lose 3-0 to Swansea. But no, positive episode. You just got that typical City in your head, don't you? So in terms, obviously, we didn't expect to get 2 wins from these 2 games. Do we? Is credit more to McCann than the system? I mean, this is a very important question given what's happening at the minute. Is McCann? Because to me, like a lot of people have picked up on the fact that since the takeover, his personality has come out a bit more. He's smiling more. He's having a laugh with his players more. Like
maybe he knows he does. Maybe he knows he can say out and anything, and he's going to be done.
When we used to ask the questions about whether or not his formation was being dictated by the Allams, or I mean, you've got to think back to previous managers too. Like Leonard Slutsky was apparently the happiest man in football. Looked completely abject when he left us. The Allam seemed to have that effect on people.
Adkins
resigned. Adkins. Everybody just sort of they sucked the life out of managers. Have we been too harsh on Grant McCann over the last 2 years? And have we done exactly what the Allams wanted and used him as a focal point of our anger when it was actually them?
Yes and no.
Okay.
No, we haven't been too harsh because of that fucking run last time we were in the Championship. He rightly got the slating he got, and he probably, he should have lost his job there. But since then, it would have been harsh. The benefit of hindsight is fantastic. Because
I mean,
we probably
obviously the vast majority of City fans agree with you about the run that got us relegated in the first place. But I will counter you for a discussion purpose, not because it's the way I think.
No, you just don't like them, man.
No, so obviously we went on a horrid run, but context-wise, we didn't really have any investment that year. We were on the brink of the playoffs when he had decent players. Yes, we were carried by Bone and Grosicki, but we were just outside the top 6 before rumours started to appear about them leaving. Results started to turn sour. We lost them both, and we just plummeted like a stone because they weren't replaced. So, yes, obviously, a manager's job is to get the best out of the players that he's got. But if he's been told to play a specific system, and they've not given him the players to do so, and pocketed the money, per se, is that a reason to sort of defend him for that point of his career? Like his hands essentially were tied?
No, because he didn't even try and change, even if he put the same formation, he didn't try and change the way we played in that formation. He just kept playing as if Bone was still there.
Yeah.
But if you're going to play the 4-3-3, what else could he have done? I mean, if we look at the players we had that season, we didn't really have. I argue we've got a better squad now than what we had in the Championship that year.
Yeah, we do.
Excluding the obvious Bone and Grosicki. But, after that, we got, a young KLP who probably should have been playing because, even though he'd not had much experience, he looked good whenever he played. But
he scored more than the other people we brought in. Yeah, true.
We signed Wilkes. That was a Grant McCann signing, who was one of our best players from then to the end of the season. We had McGuinness and Eves, who really didn't do it at the Championship at that level. We had Josh Bowler. We had a very lightweight midfield, I think. De Silva. We played Honeyman as a CDM. There was a lot of things that he couldn't really have done. Pennington in right back, for example. We got hammered by injuries too, didn't we? So I think, I'm just asking that if in the future, would we look back on that run and say, maybe nobody could have done better with that squad of players at the time?
I think, regardless of
what
manager we brought in. Well, yeah, we lost 8-0 to Wigan. That's inexcusable.
Yeah,
he still has to take some blame. You can't not say, it's just the Allams.
Yeah, but then bouncing back first time. I mean, we'll save this anyway because we've got some news to chat about, haven't we? So obviously, late news today has been that potentially it's been confirmed, not by our club yet, but by a few blue tick journos from Turkey, are saying that Acun's going to sack McCann and replace him with Shota Alvedzi. Is it how you pronounce it?
Avaladze.
This is the big debate.
So obviously, in typical fashion, Hull City Twitter has imploded tonight.
Understandably.
I mean, a mixture of supporters for McCann and people who are quite welcoming of the news. I'm gonna have a look on Twitter actually because a few people tweeted us about it, and the vast majority, to be fair, and it's weird saying this because if you think back to even how critical we've been of McCann in the past, the vast majority.
Even if you go back exactly 1 week. We've just lost just 2-0.
Yeah.
Everyone would have been like, get rid.
So this is what I mean. So I'm going to ask you now then. Take the last couple of games. Obviously, I know we've beaten second and third the last 2 games, but in the grand scheme of the season, the grand scheme of his career at Hull City, is it a good decision to replace him?
No. Not at this current moment, no. It would have
But
made
if you went
sense
back
Not at
to
this
weeks,
current moment.
summer. It would have made sense even like before we changed the formation and we was on that run where we hadn't won in like 8 games. It would have made sense, but it hasn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to do it right now, considering in the last since we changed to a back 3, we've just been so much better. It doesn't
But
make
what if
sense.
this decision was made, like we spoke about it briefly before we started the recording? What if this decision was made weeks ago when, the fans were calling for his head? Justifiably so. Times, the thing is that's this is what's important. There's been times where fans have criticised him, and I think sometimes it's been justified, and then there's times where we should praise him, like we should be doing now. But I think that the decision that's been made isn't on the last 2 games. It is on the season so far, and probably the fans' feelings. I don't think Adjun's come in, watched us win the last 2 games and gone, nah, he needs to go. This would have been a decision.
Well, then if that's the case, why is there apparently a meeting in the midweek where he's going to tell him his future?
Oh, maybe it's just a formality, Like, sorry, he's going to explain why. I don't even think this is a form thing. This is, you come in to a new country, you're a new owner.
Oh, you want a new manager.
Yeah, you want to bring in someone who's going to, do your vision with the new players. Like, with the other news that's come out this evening is allegedly we are going to sign those 2 strikers. McCann isn't going to want them. They're not going to want to come in and play for McCann. If we're bringing in a new director of football, new CEO, it does sort of make sense to change it. I'll just bring in, because I asked my stepdad for his thoughts.
At the same time, just slightly on that, what was the point of the Regan Slater transfer then? If that's true?
You see, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, poor Regan.
If this has been a decision that's been made, like say, for example, a few weeks ago, when you could have maybe justified getting rid of him, if that decision has been made, then that means that the new manager sanctioned the deal for Regan Slater.
Or maybe he just
the thing that makes me
that is a McCann signing. It's not a new manager signing.
In which, to me, I think that there's a bit of, because this is the thing, the club haven't even confirmed this is happening, so this is all hypothetical. Obviously, we don't know. We need to wait for the next day or so.
I think it's probably going to happen.
But I can't understand why they would choose to do it now if they were sanctioning deals like Regan Slater, because that to me seems like it's a Grant McCann signing.
If you want to
get rid of McCann, if they knew they were going to get rid of him, then why are they doing that?
If you want to get rid of McCann, that's fine. He's the new owner. And we all knew he was going to probably bring in a new person anyway. I think everyone at the club kind of knew that was going to happen anyway. But I just don't get the idea of doing it now. Why not give McCann the rest of the season? Or
I think it's
because
it's
a form between now and the end of the season, when you've got your chance to do it there.
I think it's
not the end of the world if you wait a couple of months. It's your club. You're not going to suddenly not have the club at the end of the season. You've got time to build it.
Yeah, but McCann isn't going to build what Adjun is going to, and Tan Kessler and Schotter is going to want to build, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And Adjun might look at...
Adjun might look at until the end of the season.
Yeah, maybe, but Adjun might look at, as we've done, this McCann guy, got him promoted. He's doing okay at the moment, but he's had 2 very bad runs, in the championship with a bad squad. But would Adjun trust him, with how bad it's been in the past? 100%.
But he's not giving him a chance.
Well, maybe he thinks he hasn't earned one. I think we should keep McCann, but I can fully understand why he's not being kept.
What's your thoughts on it, Joel? You seem very quiet in the corner. I think he's dying to say something inside.
I'm struggling to hear you all, to be fair. The connection's still not very good. But I think I got the gist of what you were saying. But for me, McCann has earned a right to see out at the end of the season, but you can't begrudge Adjun for getting rid of him. Yeah. We've got to now back. If it is Schotter that's coming in, we've got to back him. We've got to back what Adjun's saying and just go for it, because it could turn out to be one of the best decisions that have been made at the club for years. We don't know. We're going into the unknown. We were going into the unknown when he came in and took over. So,
but do we risk the potential for because the vast majority of the players at the minute are coming out and supporting McCann. They look like they're playing for McCann. Do we now run the risk of upsetting the squad, our momentum? Because at the minute you can see that they're playing for him. They want him to stay, and we're seeing a different Grant McCann in the. See, the problem is with me, like Nathaniel said, there's logic in from an owner's perspective in getting rid of him, because when he first started getting to the advanced stages of the takeover, the fans did not want him. So he's thinking and he's putting down in his plans for the club, get rid of this guy, I win the fans over straight away, don't I? He didn't envisage, obviously, the form turning round and the system turning round. I mean, who knows? We might not have even been playing the 3-5-2 if it wasn't for injuries. We might never have even had this run. He could have stumbled upon a formula that worked because of injury, and he just chose to stick with it. But you look at his career in total, and this is where I'm going to get. I'm going to try and defend McCann, and I've been McCann out in the past. I know I have, but at the minute I'm a supporter, and it's because I don't think he's been able to do what he wants to do for the vast majority of his Hull City tenure. The first season he came in, he lost his two best players in January, and we stumbled. Well, we fell like a rock, got relegated. He got us up as champions last season, which I know we had a very good squad and we should have done. But, look at Sunderland, look at Ipswich, Doncaster, Sheffield Wednesday down there now. It's hard to bounce back up from League One, and we did it first time. With not really, we signed like Dockett and Smallwood, we've got a bit. But these are players that McCann wanted to sign. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't been able to sign properly this season because we had the embargo. So in the grand scheme of his career, I think what I'm trying to say, during a COVID epidemic, tightened purse strings from the owners and not really any investment so he can sign the players he wants to do, losing his best players regularly, trying to bring through youth into the team and establish them as first team players. He's won us our first league title in 55 years, and our aims this season were to stay in the division, and we're doing it comfortably at the minute. And I know there's been a few point deductions that have helped us along the way, but we'd still be outside the bottom three if it wasn't for them. You've got to look at the likes of, the players that he's brought in. We've let McGuinness go, obviously, but Tom Eaves is now starting to come good. Smallwood's been phenomenal signing. He's brought through Greaves, KLP, the loan signings like Bernard. We've used the loan market very well. Even the freebies, you look at Randall Williams. We've done okay, given the hand he's been dealt. For me, to sack him now when he's finally got the chance to spend some money and sort of show us what he's about as a manager, I think is just going to be... it'd be silly to turn on the owner because of it. I mean, the guy's owned us for a week, and he's probably done this with the hindsight that we didn't like him in the past. He won't have kept up to date with every single result all the time, kind of thing. He's a busy guy. But back when he made this decision, I imagine, was when the fans wanted him gone. And now it's probably got to a point where contracts have signed and things have done that he can't undo it. And it's only because of the last two games that fans are now like, do you know what? No, he deserves a chance. But it's one of them things. Obviously, I'd like to see him given a chance, but it's we like I said, we're talking about possibilities and things that might not even happen yet. I mean, to me, it just seems very odd that there's so many circumstances to it. I know I'm rambling on at the minute, but like say for example, it's weird that when Adjan first took over at the Blackburn game and they asked him about McCann's future, he seemed really cagey and he just sort of left it open. When McCann was asked about his future, he pretty much said that he's not even spoke to the guy. I think since then he's confirmed he spoke to Tan Kesler, but he hasn't actually spoke to the owner, which I think is very bizarre, which suggests to me that he's not in his plans kind of thing, or they've got a meeting upcoming or something like that.
That's poor form regardless.
Yeah, but then why are we signing Regan Slater, who is obviously not a shotter?
That's the odd thing.
There's a few bits that don't add up in it to me, and it's just very. We need the club to come out, or Adjan, or someone just say, release a club statement and say, this is our plans, this is why we've done this.
Yeah, well, we've not
like you said against Blackburn, there's no clarity in the situation. The fans are left to speculate. Any news that comes on Twitter, we latch onto because that's the only source of information we're getting at the minute, and it's all very messy. It's not very structured. Like, to me, if you come in and take over, you need to have a clear structure. You should be laying down the rules, you're planning your vision straight away. You should all be on the same page. And for McCann to be 2 games down and still not really know what he's doing is very weird. I don't know, unconcerning.
It is weird.
Kind of thing.
We'll
it's
know
weird
more
because it's turned
soon.
into such a great week. You know, we've been waiting years for this takeover to happen, and we finally got it. And we've hit a bit of form. We've beat two of the best teams in the league, and we've finally got optimism around the club again. Everything's feeling good, and then we've got this potential bombshell that's just threatening to bring us down again.
I'm very conflicted about it.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I mean, I know the vast majority of people. I mean, I'm going to try and find a couple of. We've got one here that says, if true, then it's the wrong decision at this stage of the season. Players want him there and are playing for him. Could seriously affect the dressing room. He deserves at least until the end of the season, which I think is
that's my point. Give him just until the end of the season, because then didn't bring in a new man over the summer if you really want to, and build from the summer onwards.
Yeah, but he wants to build now.
We're not going to do anything this season. Regardless of what he builds, we're not doing anything this season in terms of progressing.
Yeah, but it might help for next season. You know, bring them in now. 6 months in England.
Break up a good run of form.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm not angry. I'm just a bit disappointed. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
I think it is the wrong decision, but it might turn out to be okay.
So obviously before that news was kind of broken, I asked on the podcast account for people to send in their thoughts of the last week or so, which was strangely positive before this. This is what I was meaning. So we've got the likes of Jordan Garnett said, exciting times at the moment, looking forward to hopefully signing Pesic and that lad from Fenerbahce, who I imagine is Sayad Benesh, is that it? And then he put, I also hope Adjan keeps Grant and doesn't rip up the squad too much and stop the pathway for the youngsters that's been created. You see, is this then a potential? Obviously, new owner comes in, new vision. Are we looking at maybe this squad being like the vast majority of this starting 11 not being here next season?
Possibly, because a lot are out of contract. I think maybe they will get Honeyman, but yeah. But we can't. We have to admit that it's not been good for the last few years. We can't just now that it's happened. You know, it's like Stockholm syndrome. You know, not quite with the Allams, but we've got McCann and these players who got us relegated mostly from League 2 and League 1. Don't we want to see a bit of investment? You know, a bit of money in these players that they sign might be quality, but.
At the same time, you won't be seeing players like at the same time, you won't be seeing players like if we just went for the investment, we would never have had KLP probably come through.
Yeah, quite right.
Or Bowen.
The academy is one thing that should stay.
That's one thing that the Allams did right. Unfortunately, there is one thing they did get right, and that was the academy, and that was more a consequence of them not spending money. To be fair.
Yes.
Well, no, it was a change of their club model. They couldn't spend money anymore, so they wanted to generate the youngsters.
That was it. That's what I mean. It was a side effect of them being financially way too.
But to me, that's definitely would have been a discussion for Ehab and Adjan to have had. I imagine saying, look, we've upgraded the youth facilities. You get some phenomenal players through there that are worth a lot of money. I can't see him, sort of giving that up in a way or changing it because it won't make sense financially to me. I think this tweet probably sums it up perfectly from Patrick Webster. He put, incredible week. The only cloud still hanging over the club for me is McCann's future. Should he be given the chance moving forward? And do we think Adjan's going to give him that chance? And this is literally the fan base summed up in wanting it, with brilliant week, but no clarity on McCann's future from any source is sort of lingering and making us
we'll
guess what's going on.
We'll get like a proper interview from Adjan and the new manager, I'm sure. It'll be more clear, hopefully. But it's. I just hope it does go well, because we're in a good situation and the players are all professional. I don't think they're all going to go in a strop just because McCann's left. I hope. And hopefully they can keep that team spirit even if there is a new manager. And surely the ownership and maybe having some new signings will give them a boost anyway. You'd hope.
Yeah. I mean, I think I tried to find an example of a tweet that's in support of the decision for him to go. I've got one here that says all the Twitter club owners are out in force. Let the owner do what he needs to do and judge in the months ahead. Let's be honest, the vast majority of us all was slagging him off not long ago. 2 wins after no win in 7 is pure owner bounce, nothing more.
Possibly. I think that's part of it.
There's no such thing as fucking owner bounce, by the way, because
it's the atmosphere, isn't it?
Look at Newcastle.
No, I think there is. For us, I think there is for us.
I think for us it definitely was. Mood in the stadium picked the players up. Players now, I think the problem with us was that it was the uncertainty of the takeover going through that players started to get a bit anxious about their futures. Fans were getting anxious if it was going to fall through, etc. So the fact that it did go through, in the sense, it was a relief, maybe more than a new owner bounce. It was the finally it's gone through kind of thing. Everyone's clear, we know where we are. This one says, mixed emotions about the rumour of Grant McCann leaving. The players are clearly giving their all for him, but on the other hand, we do sit 19th in the Championship because we've had back-to-back wins against third and second. All of a sudden, he's a good manager.
Yeah, I mean, we're very knee-jerk, aren't we? We're he's awful or great.
We lost poorly to Blackpool and Stoke before.
Yeah.
Without scoring and not looking any good.
If we'd beaten Stoke and Blackpool and lost to Bournemouth and Blackburn, the amount of people, saying, "Oh, we should get rid of him," it'd be just flipped, wouldn't it? It's just who we've beaten, but that is who we've beaten. So no point doing hypotheticals.
I think we're all agreed then that maybe
I would, like I said, I'd be upset if he went, and I don't think I should be given the rest of the season. But you can't not back the next manager if he comes in. You've got to.
He's not done anything wrong.
Yeah,
it's not his fault.
The problem
is
the problem I'm worried about is if the new manager comes in and we have a couple of poor results, and I'm really worried that some of those fans who are very reactive will start going, "Oh, why have you got rid of McCann? Oh, are the lads out already? Action's ruining the team already. Blah 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 blah. Fuck off."
We need a Pesic hat-trick on Saturday and everything will be fine. Yeah.
Right, so I think I think the general mood then is obviously that he probably deserved to the end of the season, but we need to wait and see what
we can understand if he goes.
Yeah, it's one of them. Yeah. I think the vast majority of fans probably wouldn't really be bothered either way. Like we say, there was a lot of McCann out people. It's been very, very loud for McCann out for a long time, and since a change in
most
system,
people,
it's changed a bit.
The Twitter sphere isn't most people who support the club. We have to remember that.
Yeah, that's true.
It is a smaller, a significant, but still a minority.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do then is because we can't really comment on that anymore until we receive some other information from somewhere. We'll look ahead to Swansea. Yeah. So obviously Swansea next. They're down there with us, but I think they've got 3 games in hand on us. So it's a weird one. I've actually gone out and got some stats for us to talk about before we get on this one because yeah. So the last 6 games, obviously for us, we've had 2 wins against Bournemouth and Blackburn, a draw against Bristol, and 3 losses against Stoke, Blackpool, and Forest. 7 points accrued, 6 goals scored, 7 conceded. Swansea, exact same. 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses, beating Preston and Barnsley, which, the teams kind of, Barnsley are down there at the west side of the league, I think. And Preston, even we beat them. So 1 draw, Huddersfield, they're on fire at the minute. So that's quite a good result. And then 3 losses against Reading, Middlesbrough, and Forest. So also, obviously, accruing 7 points. They've scored 8, conceded 8. So it's very similar. Our head-to-head against Swansea is very interesting. So in the last 7 games between us, we've won 2, Swansea have won 1, and we've drawn 4. And the 2 of those draws have been the last 2 meetings. And there's usually a lot of goals involved. So there's 24 goals in those 7 games.
I mean, 8 of those did come in 1 game.
Yeah, 8 of those did come in 1 game, yeah. Our last win against Swansea was in 2018. We beat them 3-2. But since then, we've had a 2-2 draw, lost 2-1, drawn 4-4, and then drawn 0-0 this season. So, interesting. Let's have a look.
But I think they're 20th in the away table because I always look at the home and away things.
They're not very good away.
21st. So I'd be quite confident judging by that and our ownership, and perhaps new manager bounce, I think I'm fairly confident-ish, but it's very difficult to know, really.
League table-wise, obviously, we sit 19th with 8 wins. Our goal difference is significantly better than those around us, which is
a lot better. Apart from Derby, they're all way off.
Peterborough minus 30, Reading and Cardiff minus 18, minus 19, and we're minus 8. So, because we haven't really been hammered this season, have we? We don't tend to. But I think QPR, we lost 3-0.
I think we've only conceded 3 goals. Is it twice in the league?
Yeah.
Sheffield United and QPR. That's good going.
And we don't tend to concede in the last 15 minutes, where we tend to score more in the last 15 minutes. So maybe squad fitness is quite high. We sit 19th on 29 points. They're 17th on 31, but they have 3 games in hand. So obviously could potentially fire themselves into the top half with a good run. Obviously, games in hand aren't wins. We know that. And some interesting stats that I found on FootMob, because Joel's been using that on the account. If you've seen the posts on Twitter, they're very interesting. So I thought I'd go on, and Swansea, average possession in the league, are first by some way. So the style of their play.
If they have as much possession as the one, we'll take all 3 points.
So they
can take the ball home.
They have the highest average possession in the league of 66%, and second is Sheffield United on 60. So they're very possession based, which is what we saw against Bournemouth. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, does it? They make the most passes per game in the league, 536 compared to Fulham's 453 in second. So it could be a very boring game for the defenders. Expected goals, I thought, would be an interesting one to look at. So to compare them, they're actually 20th in the league for expected goals. They've scored 28, but their expected goals is 26.4. So they're performing better than their XG.
That's quite funny, considering they wanted rid of Steve Cooper because he wasn't playing good enough football, and they're brought in someone who's giving them much worse football.
Sometimes with this sort of style of play, like Swansea, even from their Premier League days, 2012-13, and their League Cup winning squad, they kept the ball and it was all possession based. But they probably kept that idea, but it's got more simple over time. So now it's just keep the ball. So it's like keep the ball because that's what Swansea do, rather than actually having an idea. Yeah.
Comparing us to our expected goals, so our expected goals is 30.9, and we've actually scored 23, so we're performing way less.
Well, that's the not having any good strikers effect, isn't it?
That's because McGuinness was playing.
Yeah, Longman missed 3 of those chances, probably.
Yeah, Longman could have scored 2 against.
I'll prove you wrong. I'm fairly certain he's overachieving with his expected goals.
That was Brian Longman playing that game.
Yes.
Well, he is. He still fucked up massively in Stoke then.
Well, he's won us the last 2 games, so...
I'm Blackburn.
He's got 4 goals. His expected goals of 2.34, so have that.
Shots on target per match, so whether or not our keeper could be in for a busy day, is they are 8th, so they're actually in the top half of the table for the amount of shots they have. They have about 4.1 per game. Which I think in the grand scheme of things is not brilliant, but higher than ours. So make of that what you will.
That's a rubbish average, to be honest. In general, I think it's a poor stat to have an average from.
They're 8th in the league with that as well. So top of the table is Fulham with 6.4 shots per game. This is shots on target, by the way.
Yeah, 4 shots a game.
Shots in total can't be right.
Whoever's bottom is having 1 a game.
4.1. Fulham are top on 6.4. So
Fulham can't be on average having 6 shots a game and scoring all 6.
On target. On target, Will. Right. And then this one, which I thought was interesting because it for us as well, possession won in the final third. So obviously having a system where you press high and you try and win the ball back in obviously enemy territory. We are 14th in the league for that. So we've won possession in the final third 104 times this season. Possession won by the midfield 622. Swansea, however, are 20th with 81 possession wins in the final third.
What does this all mean then?
I mean, to be honest, and at this point, you're just saying numbers.
No, that to me, the only reason I included that is because it gives you a significant idea on their style of play. So obviously they're very possession based, but they obviously sit deep too. So because they're not winning the ball in the final third, they're not pressing high, are they? They're going to sit in their shape and they're going to let us attack them. Yeah,
fair enough.
Whereas we're a bit more aggressive in that sense. We're 6 places higher than them in the league, for example, so we could get at them. And I think that's all I would. So in terms of picking the team, then, so obviously Randall Williams is injured. So I think the majority of you said that we'd obviously bring Fleming in for him. Do we think McCann's going to do that?
McCann might not be the one doing it.
I think McCann will be out and will have signed at least, or maybe even 2 players. So I don't know if it's against the rules to predict a lineup, including players we don't currently have, but I might do that.
I mean,
are the rules?
You can try, but I mean, it's you're trying to guess the formation as well, aren't you? Because you don't know what system.
That's the thing. It's like, what the fuck does Shotter play if he's coming in?
You watch him play 4-3-3.
God,
he might though.
Yeah, 4-3-3 with Eves.
You know what's happening.
Well, because I mean, you wouldn't spend, if again, assuming this happens, you wouldn't spend however much money on Alahar and Pesic and then play only 1 striker up front. I'm assuming. So maybe he's thinking of playing 2 up front.
Well, that Pesic, I think, is a striker, and that Syed Manesh is meant to be sort of an attacking winger.
Maybe, possibly.
So it would depend. I imagine that Syed Manesh is coming in.
Oh, he's going to drop Longman, isn't he?
Longman, probably.
He's going to drop Longman. Action out. I can't be having this.
But that's what I mean. We don't know what system. He might play him as number 10, but then you drop Honeyman. So, unless he plays him deep.
Honeyman at right back.
Out of him.
Isn't Honeyman more of an 8? Box to box?
At the moment, we play him as a 10, don't we?
That's number shit, but...
I mean...
That's number shit, but in the 3-5-2, Honeyman goes into, like, the centre-forward position behind Eves and sort of finds that space.
He plays the attackers.
Yeah. And Dockett is more of the number 8 because he contributes to both, doesn't he? And Smallwood stays and plays the anchor role. I mean, that's my opinion anyway. I might be wrong. But yeah, so it's a very, very hard way to guess. I mean, we're talking about. I mean, we have to go off what he currently is and who we've currently got because
I was going to say, mine's going to go based on our current squad because I can't do hypotheticals on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not asking you to name the whole 11 because I imagine that all of ours will be very, very similar. But I can imagine same team, one change that we all probably
Fleming in for Brando Williams.
Yeah, we're all in agreement with that.
I'd play Smith personally.
Yeah, I think McCann will play Smith. I mean, I don't know if a brief cameo is enough to justify Fleming starting. Because it's you've got players waiting like Smith who probably think, well, I played well for the vast majority of the Everton game.
The cameo came about though because of Williams' injury, so that might have forced his hand into, I'm going to have to play. Because if he's not going to play Williams now, he's going to play the person he replaced him with.
Yeah, why is not
having Longman and KLP in the wing-back role, so he could easily put Smith up front.
Maybe that was more of a defensive thing because it was late and we were winning.
I think we're just infinitely better with KLP as an up-front player than as a wing-back. As good as he's a wing-back.
Has he actually scored as playing as a striker yet? I know he hasn't done it very often, but I don't think he has he?
Scored.
He's had more of an influence on the game overall, though, since he became that.
Well, he scored at Barnsley, and that was 4-3-3. Oh, it was 3-5-2. He scored at Nottingham Forest. So that's something.
Yeah, but he was in wing back, wasn't
he? Yeah, that's true. Same with Cardiff, but that was a set piece, so it doesn't really count.
Because the thing is with KLP and Longman is KLP is very, very good up front as well, but he also is very, very good in the wing back role in the sense that he is an absolute nightmare for the wide players and.
He loves the pitch.
That's where he's dangerous when he runs at the box and cuts in. And if he's playing up front, he's more central, and he doesn't do that as often.
Well, he's not really playing up front. He's playing alongside Honeyman.
Yeah, I know he drops deep and comes to the ball, but I still don't think we see the best version of KLP doing that. He's very, very good at doing it, but he's better in the wing back role for me. I don't know.
I think it results in him having too many defensive duties for his, in my opinion, as a wing-back role. He should be up front attack because his best ability is up front attacking. So you don't want him in a somewhat defensive role, I feel.
But I think he's a bit too lightweight to be. Because if you've got a big centre back on him, I don't think he has that ability to shake off a challenge and get through. Kind of. I know, because I think that's what Tyler Smith's potential is. Because he seems to be able to turn defenders very well. His strength seems to be quite. I think defenders sort of underestimate him because he's quite small. But when he turns and faces a centre back, he tends to shove him out of the way to get him behind. Doesn't he? Whereas I don't think KLP does that. He's more of he tries to slip his man secretly in behind. He's one of them, innit? I mean, we're arguing this is something that it doesn't matter because as long as KLP's on the pitch, he's brilliant. It's just where he's best. Personally, I think it's on the width. But again, it's all guesses, isn't it? I mean, we'll have to see. So score predictions then. So I'll go Joel first because he keeps cutting out.
I think we'll beat them 2-0.
2-0?
2-0. Yeah. 2 first half goals.
From?
Whole players.
Could have been Swansea players.
Apt, very apt.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone that could probably score.
You don't have to, Joel. What do you think of?
I want to now.
Go on then.
Baxter double.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Right, mute him and kick him off. I'm done with him.
I'll
Nathaniel?
mute myself now.
I'm going to go 2-0 to Hull as well.
Who's
And
going to score, Nathaniel?
I'll go with Alexander Pesic and Alahar Sayed Manish.
Christ, I'm surprised. I was not expecting that. I won't lie.
Longman assists, obviously.
There we go.
Go on then, Will.
Well, I'm going to be boring and say a 1-1 draw. Boo me all you want, I don't care. Because I'm not picking players who aren't here yet, because that's just, I can't do that.
You can.
No, you can't. It's not in the rules. Tom Eaves, of course.
Okay.
He's going to pile drive it from 35 yards like he tried to against Bournemouth. He's going to play off his stamina.
If you actually watch the technique on that shot as well, it was really weird. He like toe poked it. I don't know what he's doing.
Beautiful
when
stuff.
When it did like a different angle from behind. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah, just keep doing that. Just keep doing that whenever he gets the ball.
I'm going to say a 2-1 win. I'm going to say we concede because there's no point in accruing all them stats if I'm not going to use them to influence my decision. So because Swansea have the ball so often, and we're prone to a few errors at the back. They'll exploit one of them. We'll concede, but we'll still win 2-1. I'm going to say KLP goal and Greg Doherty. I think he's due a goal, isn't he? He hasn't scored.
He hasn't scored it this season, so yeah, he's due a goal.
Is he a shot this season?
I don't know. He's had a few. I think he tends to play them over the bar.
That's the thing he's been playing slightly deeper, I think, this season than he was last season.
Yeah, he's got less attacking freedom, hasn't he? Especially in this new system. We sort of give Honeyman the freedom, don't we?
Exactly.
Hence why he's joint top scorer.
I mean, Honeyman's already outscored his last season total.
He's level with KLP.
In a higher league.
Yeah. So
because he keeps playing forward.
So it's a positive guess then. Everyone went for wins barring Will because he's a sucker.
You never asked me about Blackburn and Bournemouth predictions anyway last week. So I went on.
He would have said 2-0 and 1-0.
Yeah, I did.
Goal scorer is perfect as well.
Yeah.
No, I thought Doherty was going to get one.
No, he's getting one next time for me. Should we start a prediction league? No. Too much happening. So I think that's pretty much covered everything. I mean, we're waiting on, obviously, the McCann news, whether or not it's real or not. Well, I'm sure some of the likes of Baz and Bernsey, and then we'll get on it and try and fathom out what's going on.
I'll take it with a pinch of salt as it stands, because the bloke who it came from is the same bloke who says we're signing that Danilo from Ajax and that Zajic from Fenerbahce, which hasn't happened.
Maybe.
So, while it's probably true, I'm going to not believe it until it's official. Like the takeover.
So obviously this was another episode that was sponsored by Hull City Retro and 6 Yards Out. 6 Yards Out's he's had COVID at the minute, so hopefully he gets better. He was doing Giveanuary, which I think he's continuing next month when he's better. But obviously their links are on our link tree, as it says at the bottom. Do go check them out. The podcast shirts. So a few of you asked for updates. They messaged either me on Twitter or the Facebook account, asking when they'll be delivered. Obviously, they were a pre-order basis because we didn't buy the shirts to keep in stock to distribute. It comes from the site they're sort of making bulk. So for everybody who ordered before this weekend that's just gone, they should be with you within the next 30 days, I believe, is what they said. So anybody who pre-orders from today onwards, you'll be on the next batch. So obviously you'll have to wait till orders hit a certain number or slow down enough to justify sending them off to come. But to anyone who has bought them, I know there's quite a few of you who've got them, and I know there's quite a few waiting until payday to get them. Thank you for doing so. I know we're well on the way to 200 quid raised for Andy's Man Club through it. So thank you to everyone who's done that. Obviously, we are partnered with Andy's Man Club. Sent me some stuff. Partnered with a charity. Obviously, they help run support groups for men struggling with mental health. Obviously, the vast majority of our listener base will be men. Obviously, so if you are struggling, there is 4. I believe there's another one coming, or another couple coming in the Hull and East Yorkshire area. 4 venues at the moment, definitely, that you can go visit if you are struggling. It's completely anonymous. They will help you out. You can spend as long there or as little time as you need. If you're struggling, please do go and see them. Support Hull Badgeman, as always, very good tradition. He's come into a bit of flack lately with Darryl. He received a very nasty
whoever sent that email's a cunt.
Yeah, whoever sent that needs to be reevaluating your life, really, because the poor guy, dedicates his life to basically being a volunteer to producing badges ran purely for us, and has been a very long tradition with Hull City. They've been out there in the freezing cold and the snow before, and hopefully they continue to be able to do that. So if you have the chance and you have the spare change to do so, do support them. And I think they're only £5 for a membership to get some badges from them guys. So pop on through and get some if you can. So just know, if you're listening to this, Darryl, we're all supporting you. It was a nasty email to receive. And with that, I think there's nothing else to cover. I think we've got a couple of works in the pipeline. I'm trying to get a couple of other interviews in, so keep your eyes posted for them. And I think we're going to do a giveaway for one of the podcast shirts. So if you're wanting to win one of them, do keep your eyes out on the podcast account for that, for the instructions to do so. It'll be pretty soon, I think. Just waiting for a couple of things to come through. But thanks to you three, obviously, for joining me. It's nice to have a full episode for once. Nice to Joel to join us eventually. Waited all day for him.
I've been on quite a lot recently. I don't know why you're chatting.
So yeah.
To quote Bradley Dack, shambles.
Oh, Bradley Dack shambles. Yeah, the big. If on the off chance Bradley Dack.
Nah, not really.
The
only shambles is Blackburn Rovers.
Oh yeah.
He definitely muted the word shambles on Twitter the other day. Turned off his notifications and probably recorded the next episode of Love Island.
He probably loved the attention.
Yeah, he probably did, to be fair.
Can we also, I mean, I know we had a laugh, but, Blackburn fans had to pay twice to come to Hull. First time it was cancelled, they had to go home. And the second time they had to watch them lose 2-0 and go back home. So I think it's...
I would have felt sorry for them, except they were all, being inaccurate, saying that it was Hull being a shambles and a disgrace because they'd, done what the EFL told them to, so they deserved it.
Make them pay a fair time.
Yeah.
So like I said, so when this episode's released, obviously there'll be the link tree on. Just have a look at who's on there. Try have a look at some of the sponsors and partners, and get yourself down. Definitely get a podcast shirt if you can. I'm hoping that when ours comes through, we can be wearing them on pod, and we can all match and look nice and cool. And Joel probably won't be on the pod.
For the pod, won't I?
Joel's too busy being big time with Sky Sports to make time for us now. He's moved on.
I'm too busy writing for opponents' programs.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so good job you mentioned that. So if anybody had the match day program from the Bournemouth game, should we litter Will's mentions and please post a picture of the page, tagging Will in it, and let's.
You're saying that as if I wouldn't. You're saying that as if I wouldn't not love that.
Yeah,
the same picture over and over again. I mean, we made it into a match day program. I know it was. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not a little bit gutted they didn't reach out to me to do that. A little bit envious. They went to Will. So Will's in the program. I know Joel, you picked up a couple of them, didn't you, and sent the picture through him. But yeah, it's a big moment for the podcast, like we say.
What I do find funny is it was typical that I wrote for it and put in it, if we get taken over, 24 hours before Wednesday. So
yeah,
well
true.
Done.
But yeah, so big ups to Will for being in the Bournemouth Match Day program. That's a nice long time keepsake for you, I think. Probably, what are you going to do? You're going to rip the page out and keep it on the wall?
no.
I keep the full program.
Yeah, why would you sully the program itself by ruining its value?
It's hard to frame it if you. I mean, you could get a weird shaped frame.
I'm not going to frame it. I'm not a psychopath.
Can you sign mine for me? I want you to sign mine.
Signed it.
Yeah. If you want autographs from Will, just get straight into his DMs. Obviously, Joel as well is now big time Sky Sports, so just do hit over and ask them for an autograph or two. You might get a 50p for it or something. But yeah, cheers for joining me anyway, lads.
At least with me, you could just say, "Oh, he won Pop Idol 20 years ago."
Yeah,
Joel's
I
not
don't
good.
know what you mean there.
20
years ago, I was a little nipper.
Joel was didn't even know what Hull City was when he was a kid.
No, I did, Nathaniel.
Well, I didn't know what anything was.
We weren't even born 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, there's no meal deal tangent this time. I don't think we need to redo that. I need to get everybody's in the chat after this episode. You're all gonna have to send me the meal deals again, and we redo the poll. And we'll actually settle this once and for all. We'll reignite that. We'll try and find some irrelevant positivity in and amongst the potential sacking of McCann. So we'll try and distract everybody with meal deal choices.
Next week,
yeah, and we'll try and make a meal deal conversation a regular for any guest that comes on, and judge them for it. Anyways, yeah. So if anyone's still with us, thanks for listening. We will.
Well, fucking done for still being here.
Hopefully, still have McCann in charge by the next time we record, talking about a positive result. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we'll all know the news when it gets released. But thanks for listening anyway, and thanks to you guys for joining us. Thanks to our sponsors and partners, and we will see you next time. We are